Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and the question I was just asked is a fantastic question. This is one I can cover very briefly, very easily. Now, when we're talking about drug testing and things, what I need people to understand is that there are different levels of drug testing. What I'm going to talk about here is only the top echelon level drug testing. We're talking the international competitive level organizations that have a minimum of a $10 million anti-doping programs or more for a drug testing budget. Obviously, things like natural bodybuilding and a lot of amateur sports don't have that type of budget. Even the NFL, for example, doesn't have that comprehensive of a drug testing budget. They have a fairly small drug testing budget. There's not a lot of effort or money being put into it. So when we get to those lower level testing, this stuff goes out the window. It's just, they're really a joke. At least the WADA level and Olympic level testing is fairly comprehensive. So as far as peptides go, the answer to that question is it depends. It really depends on the individual peptide as to if there's a drug test. The easiest peptide under WADA's current testing, like if they're willing to really spend a lot of money trying to catch you, is for the growth hormone. That peptide is the one that is the easiest to detect. It has, after you inject it, about a 6 to 8 hour detection window on blood only. The thing you need to remember is that any drug test for any peptide is generally a blood test only. You're not going to be able to find them on urine tests and oftentimes not even hair follicle testing. So you're actually looking at blood and basically you're measuring the amount of the substance in the bloodstream still active. So for growth hormone, obviously it doesn't stay in the bloodstream more than 8 hours, so obviously there's no detection beyond that. And what they usually do with it, they need to do multiple blood tests over a course of time and see how much it drops over that window, and that's how they'll catch you on it. If they catch that first blood test within, say, 6 hours of you injecting the growth hormone, they can generally catch it. And obviously if someone pinned it before bed at night or whatever, it wouldn't show up. They'd be clean. There would be no way for them to detect it unless they kicked in your door at 2 a.m. and drew blood from you. Some of the other ones, like the GHRPs, GHRHs, things like that, you're going to generally have a 2 to 3 hour detection window with blood after the injection. Now that sounds like a small amount, but when you consider that some people pin these up to 4 or 5 times a day, okay, it's possible to detect them. The other thing though that's really tricky with them is that there's actually a method with GHRPs out there being used now to use a low dose of the GHRP to mask the HGH on the blood test. So there's actually a trick to doing that has been figured out a couple years ago by coaches so that they can actually mask the growth hormone use by using a small amount of GHRP to affect the way the taper off works and fool the blood test. Some of the others, such as some of the IGF-1 variants like mechano growth factor, even though WADA banned it over a year ago, they made an official public announcement, I believe in 2014, that it was officially on the banned list. WADA has admitted there is no current drug test for mechano growth factor, and mechano growth factor is pretty potent. It is one of the new players on the block for drug tested athletes. I know a lot of coaches who have their tested athletes on this who I've talked to. It's a big deal. They're mega dosing it because there is no test for it. The recovery that it adds is amazing. The localized muscle growth and localized recovery, and particularly minor injuries and strains, the healing effect of it is tremendous. There is no test for it. There is currently no test in development. WADA said they do not know how to develop a test for it. So that one, there is no test. Another one that there is no test for is insulin, which again is an extremely anabolic drug, a very dangerous drug that kills people. So I'm going to recommend that if you're thinking about doing it, not to do it unless you want to die, but there's also no drug test for insulin. So as far as peptides go, when people ask, is there a drug test for it? Can it be tested for? The answer is yes. For some of them, no for others, but all of them, it is very hard to detect them, and it requires very expensive specific testing, and it usually requires blood tests only. The others do not work for them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicepius.